The Ambassadorial Scholarship Program is a program that was started by Rotary in 1946. This is the oldest program, international program, sponsored by Rotary International. 800 students each year go to other parts of the world to foster peace and goodwill among all people. The Buell Ambassadorial Scholarship is special. It is only for architects. And you should be proud to know that, if you don't, that about 30 years ago, a member of this club, Temple Buell, endowed this scholarship for an architect or architecturally related student or practitioner. 2 years ago, we picked a remarkable young woman, Cheryl Bicknell, who wanted to go to India. I don't think we've ever had anyone who wanted to go to India before. And so she and her husband, Brent Kadlicki, went to India to represent you and to represent Rotary in terms of fostering goodwill in India. I'm sure that you will find her experiences fascinating. I'm sure that you will understand the importance of your continuing to give to the Rotary Foundation to foster this type of program. Cheryl?
Thank you so much for making time for us today. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you and also to have been a Rotary Ambassadorial Scholar. For me, it was pure, it's a program that's pure genius. For a year, you're taken completely out of your own culture, and for us, it was moving to India, which is a very different culture. People around the world have, as you know, when you've traveled, we all have very similar goals. We want safe places for our children to live. We want clean places, clean water, and an education for our families, and to be close to our families. However, there are lots of cultural differences beyond that, and I feel like the Rotary Scholarship allows people enough time to get out of their own, their own knowledge and their own understanding and accept someone else's. And as far as world peace goes, I can't imagine a way of fostering people-to-people understanding than a program like this. It was a huge honor, so I thank you very much. As I said, my husband, as Carl introduced us, we went to India. And again, my name is Cheryl Bicknell and Brett Kadlicki. My husband is an architect. I'm an architectural designer. We chose to go to India partially because Brett had been there previously on a student trip, and I had been fascinated with the culture for many years. I knew there were lots of issues, and I wanted to have an opportunity to learn what those are. India is also one of the very quickly developing countries in the world, and I wanted to understand what that meant as well. Brett and I were located in Ahmedabad, Gujarat, and I will attempt the pointer. So it is it's the farthest western, Gujarat is the farthest western state, and it is just south of Pakistan. It looks like it would be a city that's very mild based on its proximity to water, but it is one of the hottest places in India. So before we left, it was 130 degrees, and all of the wind comes down from the Great Indian Desert and blows through Ahmedabad. So it rains solid for 2 months, and then it's dry the rest of the year. So it was quite a challenge. We called this our adopted Rotaries. There were 16 Rotary groups in India, and when we first arrived, I think you saw the dates, June 24th to June 25th last year. So this day last year, we were on a plane from London coming back to the United States. And I may have even been wearing an outfit very similar to this because it was very comfortable to travel in. So the 16 different Rotaries, when we first got there, we went to probably 15 installations of officers and met all of the different Rotary groups in Ahmedabad. They are, in some ways, very similar to to Rotaries here in the States in that they are, many people are business people and they're concerned about their communities. However, the volunteer opportunities weren't as great as they are with American Rotaries. And it's partially culture, partially religious differences, and there are a variety of pieces that feed into that. Brett and I were always looking for volunteer opportunities and asking, and every time we would ask, they would say, oh, we're doing a polio vaccine distribution, you should come. And the day would come and the person who was supposed to pick us up wouldn't come and get us. They would have a family obligation, or they wouldn't give us the address because we were very good about finding transportation to go to these places. And unfortunately, we weren't able to do that, but we did have a lot of contact with them and a lot of very good contact. They took us into their families and into their homes and took us to a variety of different celebrations. India has many different holidays and many different family celebrations. And so Navratri, or Garba, which is a dance celebration in October in Gujarat. Everyone dresses in traditional clothing. This was a brothers festival or a Brahmin festival with another friend. This happened to be a religious celebration, a fire celebration that we were invited to come to. This was our home. It's a typical home in the area of Ahmedabad. We lived in Ambawadi, which Ambawadi is very close to the university where I went to. I went to Sept University. So if Brett will switch the... I should step back and talk a little bit about our adopted neighborhood. So that was our home, and it was an 8-story high-rise. Around our neighborhood, we tried to walk as much as we could, which is a very American thing to do and not necessarily a very Indian thing to do. So one takes an auto rickshaw or you have a driver if you're in our socioeconomic class, but Brett and I really wanted to experience the street and understand who people were who lived on the street. So this was one of our neighbors. He had a scooter repair shop on the street, and it took a long time for me to actually say anything to him because part of Indian culture is that unknown men and women do not interact. And there are lots of reasons for that as a Western woman walking alone on the street. But this man spent about 2 months saying hello to me, and finally one day I looked over and I said hello to him, and from that day forward, I always knew that he was looking out for me on the street. So when we got ready to leave, he told me that his son was learning English, and when we got ready to leave, we had brought books of Denver and reading materials in English. So I distributed them to 2 or 3 people who lived on the street who had talked to me while I was going to school the entire year. And he was so excited to have something to give to his son to read that was in English and from our home. So he always was a great asset for us. This is my university, Sept University. It's a campus. It's very noisy on the streets, and when you come into this campus, it's very quiet and hushed. It was designed and built and started by a man named B.V. Doshi, who is the most well-known architect in India. I studied environmental planning under the urban planning department. And you never do anything alone in India. You are always with a group of friends. So these are our group of friends and the people with whom I studied. The study trips, there were 2 study trips per semester that a student was required to go on, and being entrenched, I'm a much older student, and for India that's very unusual for a woman my age who could have grandchildren in India to actually want to study and go back to university. But my classmates were very, very excited to have me come along, and I actually learned a great deal about Indian culture and Indian students from the trips. We went to small towns and did studies of urban problems and urban issues and met with a lot of different individual Indian families. Indians want you to be a part of their daily religious practice, so whenever we went to a temple, people always wanted to bless us and have us be a part of their puja or their prayer sessions. And it wasn't about trying to convert us from any religious group. In order to be Hindu, you have to be born Hindu, according to Indians. So there's no conversion process. It's just a part of being a part of a good spirit and good feelings. Our daily